everyone. My name is Linda Foster. On behalf of the Bloomington-Normal Alumni Chapter President, Golene Lawrence, the Social Action Chair, Renee Thompson, and the entire chapter, we welcome you to our 4th community conversation. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. We still fighting. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is an international organization of college-educated women committed to public service. Social action is in our DNA, and our first public service act was participating in the Women's Suffrage March in 1913 for the right of the women to vote. And sadly, today, in 2022, the right to vote continues to be challenged at every turn. We still fighting. The Bloomington-Normal Alumni Chapter has been performing public service in this community for nearly 40 years. In alignment with our 5-point pragmatic thrust, which includes political awareness and involvement. Tonight, we had the privilege of having Ms. Rutha Mae Harris, one of the original, y'all hear me? Original, we ain't reading, they ain't telling us about somebody. This is the original Freedom Singer of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, also known as SNCC. Join us tonight. She has been fighting in the civil rights movement for over 50 years. We will discuss why voting rights are so important today, perhaps more than any other thing in our country. She will share the importance of young people's role in the fight for civil rights, equality, and justice for all. And she may even grace us with a song or two. Ms. Harris is a proud member, long-standing member of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Social action is who we are. Now, just a few housekeeping notes. The session is being recorded, as you know. When you register, you gave your consent to be recorded. If you do not wish to be recorded, please exit at this time. We ask that you submit questions when you register. We have more than enough questions for several hours. However, since we are committed to a 1-hour conversation, some of your questions may not be addressed at this time. If you have comments or questions, place them in the chat box, and our technology moderator will consolidate them and pass them to Renee Thompson, who will moderate tonight's conversation. And at the end of the conversation, you have an opportunity to complete a short survey. So don't just disconnect right away. Please take 2 minutes to provide your feedback for this and future community conversations. Lastly, please remain muted throughout the conversation. And now, I am pleased to introduce tonight's moderator, Renee Thompson. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. I appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. I cannot tell you how excited I am for this evening and for all of you and for this opportunity for us to spend some time with Rutha Mae Harris, who is also my soror, and I'm honored to call her my soror in Delta Sigma Theta. I had an opportunity to meet Ms. Harris when a few years ago in Washington, D.C. during our Delta Days at the nation's capital. And she is a freedom singer, so she tells her story, she speaks her story, but she sings her story as well. And she just graced us with song, and it was just so moving and just such a thrill and such an honor. And I knew at that moment that I wanted to be near her and be close to her, and I was. I didn't leave her side, I don't think, the entire time. And I just knew that I wanted to have a chance for her to engage us in some way. And so when I asked her, she said yes, because this is what she does. And so I just want to say it's just a thrill for me to be your moderator this evening and for Ms. Harris for you to be with us. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, she's going to engage us and tell her story. She'll sing because that's what the Freedom Singers did. They told their story, our story of our struggle for freedom in song. And so I know she will be engaging us tonight in song, as she also tells her story as well and responds to some of the questions that you all have submitted. And thank you for those questions. So first question, Ms. Harris, as we open up, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us how you became a freedom singer, and did you have the support of your parents? So if you can just maybe give us some background.
Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Well, who's that yonder dressed in white? God's gonna trouble the water. When it looks like the children fighting for their rights, God's gonna trouble the water. Good evening. It's so good to be here. It's good to see everybody. Well, a little about myself. I was born in Albany, Georgia on November 27th, 1940. I still live in the house where I was born. I'm still in Albany, Georgia. I became a freedom singer during the Albany Civil Rights Movement in the year of 1961-62. The original Freedom Singers were organized here in Albany, Georgia in 1962. We traveled 50,000 plus miles in 9 months, telling the story of the Civil Rights Movement through song. We traveled 46 states. At that time, there were only 48 states. My parents were involved in the movement. Our house was considered as one of the freedom houses, where we housed students from SNCC that came down for voter registration drives and marches. So I had the support of my family. We were all involved. My mom said, I will let you go and travel with the Freedom Singers if you promise to come back and get your education. So I did do that. I cut my education short, though. I enrolled at Florida A&M University, 1960-61. And in 67, I enrolled at Albany State here in Albany, and I finished in 1970. So that's a little background.
So can you, thank you for that. Can you help us understand how important voting is, and voting in every election, not just in maybe national elections, but voting in local elections as well?
Voting is one of our responsibilities as a citizen of the United States. By voting, we're participating in the democratic process. We vote to be represented by those, and they're supposed to support our interests. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. Voting is important. It is all we have. And we must, young people, we must, old people, lame, cripple, we must go vote, because this is all we have.
So can you talk about how are you involved? We know that we've been watching what's going on down there politically in Georgia. Can you share anything about maybe what you're doing and some of the how we're making a difference?
I'm always doing voter registration drives. I canvass, I donate, I give money, and we have to do that too. Sometimes you get tired of saying give, but you have to give. And you must get people registered to vote, even if you have to just go pick them up and take them. I remember during the civil rights movement, there was a young man who was 90 years old. He never knew how to write his name. Back then we had what we call citizenship schools. And I taught him how to write his name. And upon teaching him to write his name, I carried him down to become a registered voter. This man was 90 years old. That was the highlight of my work in voter registration. And I tell that story because that's what I do. And I love doing that. And I was so happy that he was able to vote before he passed away.
You talked about citizenship school. Can you explain to us what citizenship school was?
Citizenship school was where we taught people how to read and write. Just that simple. That's all it was. How to read and write.
Ms. Harris, what is your profession? You said that you started at Florida A&M in 1960 or 61, I believe.
1960.
1960, and you took a break because
when I came home for the summer of 61, the Albany movement had begun, and I joined the movement, and I started going to the mass meetings. See, at one point, I thought I was free because I didn't know anything about segregation, because my dad, who was a minister, sheltered us from all of that. We didn't go to the movies, and we didn't go to hotels or to restaurants, because he said, I built this house. And in this house, there is a kitchen and there are bedrooms. He sheltered us from all of that. And when he went to buy gas, if the man wouldn't let us use the restroom, he wouldn't buy gas. So that's why I said I thought I was free, but I didn't realize I wasn't free. And I realized I wasn't free when I started working in voter registration and started going to the mass meetings.
And so you did that for how many years before you went back and resumed your education?
67.
Okay. And that's how you got the support of your, so tell us, we know during that time there were some perilous times, it was some dangerous times. As I understand, you maybe even spent some time in jail. Can you talk about that a little bit? Can you share that story?
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You know, most people say, why do you say you had a good time in jail? Nobody don't have good time in jail. Well, I did. I had a wonderful time in jail because, see, look at her laugh. Lilona. I had a wonderful time in jail because we didn't do anything but sing and pray, because we knew we hadn't done anything wrong. We were falsely accused of what we were doing. And we would sing and pray. And there's a man named Chief Pritchett, who was our chief of police. And we had a mayor, his name was Kelly. And a song was written about Pritchett and Kelly. And it's called, Oh Pritchett, Oh, Kelly. Oh, preacher. Oh, Kelly. Oh, Bridget, open themselves. Oh, Bridget. Oh, Kelly. Oh, Bridget, open themselves. Can't you hear God's children crying for freedom? Hear God's children praying in jail. Can't you hear God's children? You know they are suffering. Can't you hear God's children praying in jail? And I'm not sure whether he knew I could sing or not, but he would come to the jail and say, hey, Rutha, sing that song about me and Kelly. So that was right down my alley because, you know, I love to sing. Yep.
So what were the charges? Why were you in jail? Why were you in some of the other
Disorderly conduct. We were charged with disorderly conduct, and we were only walking down the street singing, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let cheap Richard turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let cheap Richard turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
You are so welcome.
So Ms. Harris, we know that one of your experiences as a freedom singer, you I believe performed at Carnegie Hall and also performed at the March on Washington in 1963. Can you tell us about that? Tell us about those experiences and how that came to be?
Okay, was the Carnegie Hall event came with while we were traveling, and we were asked to sing along with Pete Seeger, Peter, Paul, and Mary. And we were asked to sing on that. And that's how we got to sing at the Carnegie Hall, which was wonderful. And of course, we were out in California with engagements. We were singing at a coffee house every night at this coffee house. And we got the word that we needed to come to the March on Washington. So Harry Belafonte had, he has his own plane. So we were asked to ride with him on his plane. So that's how we got to the March on Washington. And we were on this plane with all these celebrities, and we just thought we were in hog heaven because we had our own suite, the Freedom Singers. So while we were in our suite, we practiced what we were going to sing at the March on Washington. And when we got to the March on Washington, we were waiting for our turn to sing. And while we were back waiting for our turn to sing, Mary, who sings with Peter, Paul, and Mary, say, Rutha, I don't think we're going to be able to sing. I said, weren't you asked? She said she was crying because she thought they weren't going to be able to perform. I said, weren't you asked? She said, yeah. I said, well, you'll get a chance to sing. And by the way, I sang at her memorial. Her name was Mary Travis. and I sang at her memorial in New York. But anyway, at the March on Washington, I led a song called We Shall Not Be Moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. Oh, we shall not be moved. Well, segregation is our enemy. It must be removed. Segregation is our enemy. It must be removed, just like a pail of garbage in the alley. Whoa, it must be removed.
Wow.
And you know, standing up there, looking at all those people, they look just like little ants. It was so many people. I've never seen that many people in my life. But that was one experience I shall never, ever forget.
So you recall meeting a lot of famous people. Who else did you meet? So you were on Harry Belafonte's private plane?
Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier, Rita Moreno, Charleston Heston. What did I say? Sidney Poitier? Who else was there? It was so many people on there, y'all. I can't remember. That's been a while. That's been a while. I can't remember everybody that was on there, but those some I do remember.
Wonderful. So tell us, so we know music. How important was music to the civil rights movement? How integral was it?
The songs of the civil rights movement played a very vital role during the civil rights movement. I personally feel that without the songs, there wouldn't have been a movement, because the songs kept you from being afraid. They kept you from hearing the cattle prods. They kept you from hearing the water hose. They kept you from hearing the dogs. The songs, and sometimes if you're in a march and you know that you might get hit, you see this policeman with this billy club, or you see these dogs, and he tells you to halt, but you keep on walking, and you keep on walking, and you start singing, walk with me, Lord, walk with me, walk with me, Lord, walk with me, while I'm on this freedom journey. I want Jesus to walk with me. Hold my hand, Lord, hold my hand. Hold my hand, Lord, hold my hand, while I'm on this freedom journey. I want Jesus, I need Jesus, I've gotta have Jesus. Oh, I need Jesus to walk with me.
Thank you. So you talked about I know we know you must have seen some just horrific things, but to have the resolve in spite of all that was going, some of the ways, the treatment, the ways we were treated, or just some of the things that you may have witnessed, that we know you witnessed. Can you tell us a little bit, can you tell us about maybe what was the most difficult for you, or maybe some things that you experienced or you witnessed that were just
I've witnessed people being beat. I've witnessing fire hose, people being fire hosed. I've witnessed people being hit with billy clubs. It's a horrible feeling, and it's a horrible sight to see that. We were riding through Alabama on our way to, I think we were on our way to Texas. I'm not sure. We were riding through Alabama, and of course we were shot at. And the only person couldn't duck was the driver. But the three of us, y'all talking about singing and praying, nobody got hurt. And that was a blessing. We could have all been gone by now, but we're still here to tell the story.
And it's a story that needs to be told, and we thank you for being here. Just tell the story, tell us.
Yeah, and that's why I keep doing what I do. I'm 81 now, so I've been doing this since 1961.
So tell us about that resolve as a young woman to do that, because I believe you were what, 21?
21.
21. How do you even prepare yourself for that? Was there something that you all were, I mean, how did you get prepared for that? Did people talk to you, or how did, just to prepare yourself for what you were going to experience and to still be able to withstand some of the mistreatment and the discrimination?
So there were workshops held during the week, and you were taught how to protect yourself. And of course, the men would protect the ladies more. They would take the blunt of the hits if they could. And we were just taught how to protect ourselves. Now, I've never been hit, but I was dragged up the courthouse steps when I was arrested. I was arrested 3 times, and I spent a total of 14 days in jail. But and somehow I had no scratches on me, and I was dragged up the steps. We were taught how to protect ourselves. The Lord has been with me for a long time. That's him. It's him.
So knowing what you and other freedom singers and others who were fighting for our right to vote during that time, and you hear young people, or even people, maybe, you know, anyone that says, well, why should I vote? And my vote doesn't matter.
Oh, that's the worst thing I can ever hear a young person say. I was in a class maybe last month. And this girl told me that she had no reason to vote. I said, girl, do you realize that people died for you? Do you realize that people were beaten for you? Do you realize that I went to jail for you, and you gonna tell me you ain't gonna vote? I said, I don't like you anymore. I say, you are going to vote, and you're going to vote in the upcoming election, because somebody's going to come and grab you by the hand and take you. And I went over there and I told, I don't know who, but she did become a registered voter. I said, don't you ever say that in front of my presence. And it hurt me so hard, I was crying. That hurt when somebody, you work hard to get them to do it and they gonna, I can't stand it.
So thank you for that. So think about, or can you talk about maybe how difficult that hard fought that right for us to get to vote, and some of the things that were put in place to make it difficult for us to vote, poll tax, and all of those things. Do you think that it has gotten easier for us now, or do you see any type of in any way history repeating itself?
I see history trying to repeat itself right now. I see that every day. I see that since Trump been in there, everything went backwards and he's trying to keep it. But we got to do what we got to do. The vote is the only thing that we have, like I said earlier. We've got to get people out to vote. And we cannot sit down on our rump and say, my vote won't count, because your vote will count and it must count. And we can't sit down either. We just got to get people to go to the polls and vote and get them registered. If we got to pick them up and take them. We got to get these people, and we got to get those people out especially we got to get all the Republicans out. Because they're crazy. And they're the one putting us back. They're trying to put us back because they see that we're strong people. Truth crushed to the ground will rise again. And we will rise. We are going to rise in this next election.
Well, that's a nice segue for my last question before we entertain some questions from the audience, because I know there are many who are here with us that want to engage you as well, have an opportunity. So what can we do? So sometimes we think, well, what can I do? I'm not an elected official, or how can I make a difference? Or I'm just a person of one, but what can I do as an individual? What can we do as individuals or as member of organizations? There are many here are represented on this call today that belong to some of our churches and to service organizations. How can we make a difference?
Well, what about planting a community garden? What about that? Time and resources. Vote with your wallet. What that mean? Buying goods from places that help you. Boycotts. That's what that means. And clean up your neighborhoods. Pick up trash. Do yard work. Organize a clothing drive. There's a lot of things that you can do to impact your community. And maybe you all can add some more to that. Whoever is on this call. What can you do? What will you do? It's up to all of us to do our part. And if we all do our part, we will succeed. Did I answer your question?
Ms. Harris, I think one of the things that you've already talked about, and I see Janice Krum was also added, the souls to the polls. In Illinois,
Yeah.
It's relatively easy to register to vote. You can do it online. So, we have a three-pronged approach: registration, education, and mobilization. So we've done, the registration is fairly easy. We need to continue to educate people.
Right.
Not only why they need to vote, but who they're voting for.
Right.
Part of the education, and then the mobilization, as you discussed, is sometimes you just have to go to people's houses and pick them up and take.
That's right. You just got to do that. We just can't sit down. There's no time to sit down now. We just got to work. We got work to do. A whole lot of work to do.
Because we're fighting for our freedom every day.
Every day. Freedom is a constant struggle. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. Oh Lord, we've been struggling so long. We must be free. We must be free. They say that freedom is a constant dime. They say that freedom is a constant dime. They say that freedom is a constant dime. Oh Lord, we've been dying so long. We must be free. We must be free. We must be free. Amen.
So I want to give an out. Thank you. So thank you, Ms. Harris. Thank you. Janessa, can you help me with, I believe maybe some additional questions came in. Can you help me?
We haven't had any additional questions come through the chat, but we've had some amazing comments. Many of them thanking Ms. Harris for sharing with us, to have a living legacy amongst our presence, teaching us our history, US history, through song, by a living legend who's lived it. Lots and lots of praises for your wonderful voice, and people I think are just excited for you to be here to share your experiences and to tell us more about why it is so important for us to vote because of the struggles that we've had in the past. So we've got a lot of work to do, as Soror Harris has mentioned several times, in many different ways. So if there are any questions, if you could put them in the chat or raise your hand or something, that would be great. In the meantime, I do have a quick question for you, Ms. Harris. If you could maybe compare and contrast the voting issues from the 50s and 60s to what we are experiencing today.
Back in the day, you know, we couldn't vote. If you went to register to vote, you had to count how many bubbles were in water. Today, they don't want to give you any water standing in line. Today, they don't even want you to vote. So it's really not that different than it was back then, because they're trying to take the right to vote from us today. But we're not gonna let them do that. We ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. We're gonna keep on voting.
Another question that just came in, what's being done or should be done in Georgia to get around all the recently implemented voter restriction tactics?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. We're working, trying to get that done. And it's hard to fight white folk. Y'all know that? It's hard when you have some of us against us. And it's just hard to fight with them white folk, but we fighting. In 2020, we showed that we can do something here in Georgia. Because we got those two people in, those two senators in, so we know we can do it. We just got to continue to fight.
It's hard to fight, but we've been fortunate too to have people of all races, right, fighting with us and fighting for us. And
now we have the young people. Some young people have come on board, and I was so happy to see those young people in Black Lives Matter. I was so happy to see all those young people. Like, I'm happy to see those two I see now, Leona and Evelise. Yeah. I just love to see young people interested in democracy, because that's what they're trying to take away from us.
Did someone have a hand up for a question? Did I see?
I do.
Yeah.
I have my hands. Hi, thanks for coming. It's just a pleasure to be here.
Sure. How you pronounce your name, baby?
It's Evelise.
Evelise. Did I say it right, huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was just gonna say, my grandmother, she actually just passed away. She was 103, I believe. But one thing that she always told my family is just like to continue to tell like your story, whatever it is. So we had 6 living generations before she passed. And so even like the younger kids would stand up at family reunions and just like identify who they were, where they were going in life. And so it's just so amazing to hear your story. But I guess my question is, why do you continue to tell your story? Even when like, I would say like my nieces and nephews have no idea who you are and they don't even understand
That's
this
why
fight.
you answered your own question.
Okay.
That is why you answered your own question. And I'm so glad that your grandmothers talked to you, because that's what is needed now. These young people need to talk to their grandparents and just ask them, or the grandparents need to sit their children down, their grandchildren, and tell them about the past so that they'll know what to do in the future.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We have another question from the chat from Georgine Chisel. Did any of the Freedom Singers write any of the songs that you sang?
Yes. There's, what did I sing? Yeah, I didn't sing the song "Oh Pritchard O'Kelly." Was written by a young lady named Bertha Goba, who was a student at Albany State. And during the movement, she was arrested and dismissed from Albany State because of their participation in the Albany movement. We don't know whether she's still alive or not. We haven't heard from her. We haven't heard whether she died or is still alive. We just don't know. But she did pen "Oh Pritchard O'Kelly." And she also wrote a song, "We've been buked and we've been scorned. We've been talked about, sure as you're born, but we'll never turn back." The name of it is "We'll Never Turn Back." That's a sad song. Sometimes I want to sing it and sometimes I don't. It makes me cry a lot because it talks about a young man named Lee who was killed during that time. But I'll probably sing it at the end.
We have another question, actually 2 questions from Jasmine Lawrence, who is a recent graduate of Tuskegee University. do you recommend voting by party or by individual? And also, what can young people, and I'm going to add to that, all people, do to educate themselves about the candidates and what issues they stand on versus just voting for a designated party?
Oh, wow. Why should I have to answer that? I'm a Democrat. I've been a Democrat for a long time. I don't know how to answer that because I am prejudiced about that. You can learn about candidates if you go on the website of your whatever your mine is, US Governor gov.gov, Georgia. So you can go on your whatever yours is and learn about the candidates because they're listed there.
I'll also share for McLean County, oftentimes the NAACP and the League of Women Voters, who are also nonpartisan organizations, although some of the members of Delta Sigma Theta may have personal preferences. As an organization, we are nonpartisan and welcome all. So those are two other nonpartisan organizations that provide, a lot of times they'll have a scorecard with questions that are answered or have been asked to all of the candidates to provide their position. So that's one way you can educate, we can educate ourselves.
And you can also go to the town hall meetings too.
Yes. We have another question. If you can speak on how whites made a difference during the movement.
Well, they made a difference to the movement because the movement was not about black nor white. It was a movement of people. And some of them gave their lives for the movement.
I don't see any other questions. I'm going to make this the last call for questions.
And I think that's a good one to end on too. When you think about the movement, it wasn't about just black or white, it was about what's right. And that it was people coming together, blacks and whites. And there were many whites that lost their lives for that right for us to have the vote. And so we look at it today, even today, we have people of all different walks here on this call, you know, in support of just what's right.
Right.
And the right to vote is everybody's right. And that should be important to us to make sure that everybody gets that right, regardless of what party affiliation, regardless of your skin color. So I thank you all for being here. I'm going to, and again, Delta Sigma Theta sorority is nonpartisan, and we respect the rights and opinions of all, and appreciate all, and welcome all, and thank you all. So I said I was going to end on that question, but I do, if there's anyone that has a last question or wants to engage this iconic, this living legacy that is with us today, I do want to give you that opportunity to do that, because I know.
Hold on 1 minute. Hold on 1 minute.
Okay.
That's all right. She, yeah, come on in. Have a seat for a minute. It's almost over. That's one of my freedom singers, y'all.
Oh, okay.
And I might get her to sing the last song with me. Is that okay?
Absolutely, we would be honored. So before Ms. Harris closes us out in song, is there any, Janessa, go ahead.
There is,
one more question.
Ms. Leilana Goodson has her hand up, so
okay,
I want to recognize her.
Absolutely, one of our young people that we're so happy to have with us today.
I love that you all keep saying I'm young. It makes me
and and you will appreciate it as you get older and older and older.
Oh,
All right now.
I know it. So this has been a blessing. I just want to say, Miss Rutha, when you were saying history is repeating itself and you're seeing that every day, it makes me think about Black Lives Matter, but then there are also people out there that are being destructive. You know, so everybody's not out there for a cause. So
Right.
like, how do you feel about that?
Well, we can't stop that. You know, we have no control of people's actions.
Yeah.
We just have to pray for them that they'll turn around and come on the right side.
Well, that's right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, baby.
Linda, did you have your hand up for a question?
I just want to make a statement that I am just in awe that Miss Harris is here and that she's here to tell the story about what happened. And she's allowing us to see that if we don't do what we go get, because we're getting it. And because of your work and all the singers and all the freedom fighters, we can stand up today. And that we ain't got to count the bubbles in the soap. And we ain't got to do the poll tax. But it's called something else today. Those barrier challenges are still there because it's called IDs. I mean, it's called pre-registration. It's called all kind of things. It's called don't give them water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just want to say that as I'm gonna say I'm a young person too. Even though I'm a Delta deer. That because of what you and others have done, that we can keep on marching. We can keep on protesting. We can keep on shouting. We can keep on speaking up because of what you did and what you continue to do. Now, that 20-year-old back then, now is 81-year-old, still fighting the good fight.
That's right, and we'll continue to fight.
And we'll continue, and everybody around her feeds off of that. And that's how we got to continue with this conversation, this community conversation, is to get people to feed into what we ought to be doing. So thank you for providing that education. Real talk. Real talk.
Go ahead, girl.
From somebody who's been there, seen that, done that, don't want us to have to do that, but she's there to help us get through it.
Amen. So
thank you from everybody that's on this call, the different organizations, SNCC, Black Lives Matter, and in particular, the NAACP. But we got to keep on so we can make sure that we can have what they got.
Amen.
If they got it and it's good, why we ain't?
Okay.
Why wouldn't that be good for us? But okay, I know people saying, look, it's 7 o'clock.
So
I'm just saying, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
yeah.
I'm just saying a few words. A few words. Thank you, and I know this gets hard.
Yeah, it gets hard sometimes.
What happens when it get hard? Because there's times when you have to get by yourself.
Yep.
And yeah, you can sing, but it gets hard sometimes when you listening to stuff don't make no sense.
Amen. You got that right, baby.
But you plow through that.
Mm-hmm.
And you look good. It didn't take you down. See that, y'all? We can keep fighting and still look good.
Thank you.
81 years old, really?
We'll be 82 in November.
Yes.
Oh.
So Linda, thank you for pouring out your heart and sharing with all of us. We are full just as you are. And we, Miss Rutha, we appreciate you and for being here with us this evening. I'm going to allow you to close us out in song before doing so, I just want to again, on behalf of our president, Golene Lawrence, and the members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Bloomington-Normal Alumni Chapter, thank you all for being with us for this conversation. We appreciate you. We appreciate the support that we received from you, and we're just so happy that you found it worthy to engage in this conversation with us this evening. When you do leave, don't leave just yet, because Ms. Ruth is going to close us out. There'll be a short survey, so would appreciate if you could provide us with some of your feedback, because that will help inform our decisions for some future conversations. And again, we just say thank you. Thank you again for being here. So Ms. Rutha, I'm gonna give it to you.
All right. We've been buked and we've been scorned. We've been talked about, shows you're born, but we'll never turn back. No, we'll never turn back until we've all been freed, and we'll have Thank you, guys. It has been a pleasure. It has been a pleasure. We must do this again.
Ms. Harris, can you introduce the other Freedom Singer that's joined you?
Yes, this is Miss Rutha Watkins.
Hello, everybody.
She's a band director. She's now teaching at Albany State University. She teaches music.
Yes.
And she's one of the groups that I formed in 1998 to sing at the Civil Rights Movement every second Saturday in the month.
Thank you for being here with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Did you say my name? Did she even say my name?
I
She didn't
did.
say my name.
She said Miss Watkins,
Okay.
but I
I
didn't.
said Rutha Watkins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I heard you say my name.
Thank you for being with us, Miss Rutha. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
She's AKA, guys, but she's fine.
We have a few on the call with us.
Yeah.
We love, it's all
we-
love and sisterhood. We love our divine night.
Yes,
That's
we
right.
do.
We're all in it together.
Yes, we
Mhm.
are.
Yes.
And they're represented on the call this evening as well.
Good. Very good.
All right.
Well, I had a wonderful time. I always have a wonderful time when I do this. So I love what I do.